All right, good afternoon, everyone. It is 4 o'clock Central, so we will go ahead and get started. Thank you for joining us for today's webinar, Helping Future Healthcare Professionals Develop Geriatric Sensitivity. My name is Emily Winnestorfer. I will be your moderator for today's presentation. Our lead presenter today is Emily Kurth. She is the communications specialist here at Realityworks and has been with us for over 8 years. She collaborates regularly with educators and administrators to understand how they can implement our products and programs, as well as what they are doing to engage students in high demand skills. She is a frequent presenter on topics regarding student engagement at education conferences, trade shows, and she also is a frequent presenter on webinars like today. Before we get started, I do want to cover a couple things. First, today's presentation is being recorded and all attendees will receive a link to that recording, as well as a copy of the PowerPoint slides. For attending today's presentation live, you also will be receiving a certificate of completion, and you should see that in your email within 24 hours after the presentation. We will have time at the end for a Q&A session, so if you do have any questions, please feel free to type those in the chat or the Q&A feature located at the bottom of your screen, and we will answer those at the end. With that being said, I'm going to go ahead and pass things over to Emily to get us going.
Like the other Emily just said, my name is Emily Kurth, and I am the communications specialist here at Realityworks. I'm primarily responsible for email marketing and content creation. And like Emily had said, that lets me connect often with educators across the country to learn how folks are succeeding in their classrooms. And in fact, that is where many of the trends and tricks I'm going to share today have come from. I've chatted with instructors and admins over the years, and they've shared some great ideas. So now I'm here to share those ideas with you. So with that, let's get started. So over the next 35 or so minutes today, we will discuss just a quick overview of who Realityworks is for folks who are not familiar with our company. Then we'll dive right in. Oh, yep.
We can't see your screen.
Oh my, okay. Emily, thank you. What would I do without you? Okay. Back into presentation mode here.
Perfect.
Okay, you should be able to see the agenda now.
Yep, we're all set.
Okay, awesome. So you've not missed anything exciting yet. All right, we will talk briefly about who Realityworks is, then we'll dive into today's students. We'll talk about who they are and the attributes that make them unique. Then we will address geriatric sensitivity. We'll talk about what it is and why it's so important. I'll share some tips for teaching geriatric sensitivity that we've learned from conversations with educators and research and experience. And then we'll share just a little bit about how we here at Realityworks can help you address those key skills. And then we will have time for questions. So it looks like you guys have already discovered the chat and Q&A. Thanks for the feedback earlier. Feel free to type those questions in as we go, but we will have time at the end to answer. So let's dive into who's Realityworks. Just really quickly, for those of you who aren't familiar with us, we are an employee-owned company based in Eau Claire, Wisconsin, and we create experiential learning tools for teaching job and life skills. We actually got our start over 2 decades ago when former NASA engineer Rick Germain created the very first Real Care Baby Infant Simulator, and then went on to found the company that is now Realityworks. Today, we are proud that our tools combine curriculum with those hands-on learning experiences, student activities, and assessments. We really strive to create tools that are easy to implement into programs and that offer plenty of customer support. And these days, our simulators are in more than 70% of US school districts and programs, and in more than 90 countries around the world. Baby is still around 25 years later, but now you can look to us for other tools like a bovine birthing and ultrasound simulator, virtual reality welding simulators, and of course, tools for teaching geriatric sensitivity. So on that note, let's try a quick poll here. Guys, if you want to get out your phones and utilize that QR code, it will take you to a poll everywhere question. I am wondering, what barriers prevent your students from developing geriatric sensitivity? We won't be able to see your name and your answers. This is anonymous. Just thought I'd gather some thoughts from the attendees on the webinar today. What barriers are preventing your students from developing geriatric sensitivity? So that QR code should take you to a link. It may prompt you to enter your name quickly, but then go ahead and throw out some thoughts. I'm kicking things off with this question because our own geriatric simulator, which you'll learn a little more about later in this presentation, would not exist if it weren't for teachers like you asking us for help teaching this skill. We heard the need for learning aids that would help students develop empathy and sensitivity, and we created that simulator. So we love asking questions and we love getting feedback. So I thought we'd start with this question. So let's see, everyone should have hopefully been able to access that poll. So let's see what folks are typing in. Not sure where to start. Very valid. Bias, misconceptions, stereotypes, great answers. Lack of experience with the geriatric population. Yep, absolutely. Don't spend as much time with grandparents as we used to. Great. Ooh, lack of interaction with live patients. That's a good one recently, especially. Never have focused on the group of adults. Oh, this is awesome, you guys. This is a great mix of answers. Thank you so much for participating. Great way to just kind of literally poll the group, right? Thanks for that. Ooh, students don't know what it's like to be old. That is a good one. I love it. I don't see any more answers rolling in. Thank you, everyone who jumped in to share their thoughts. We appreciate that so much. Well, let's dive right in. We'll start by looking at who today's students are. Who are the faces of career and technical education these days? Well, as we all know, no surprise, today's students are digital natives. This is a term often used to describe students who were born after 1997 and are therefore members of the post-millennial Generation Z. The oldest are in their mid-20s, and the youngest are about the age of my oldest child, 9. They are considered digital natives because they grew up with technology. They've never known a world without smartphones. Whereas millennials were considered digital pioneers, they bore witness to that explosion of technology, right, and social media. Gen Z was born into a world where information was always just immediately accessible. Social media was the norm. In fact, the Census Bureau recently reported that about 68 million Americans belong to Generation Z. And while over a third of them either hold jobs or are self-employed, 51% of them are still students. And of course, the needs of all those Generation Z students are changing the way we teach. For instance, the standard classroom model, where an educator stands in front of the class and lectures, just doesn't work. Gen Z students want to learn and succeed, but they will disengage with the discussion if they don't feel connected or if they don't see the relevance. They want to know the answers to those questions on the screen now. Why are they learning what they are, and how will they apply it to the real world? That relevance is super important to Gen Z learners. So it is important to note that these students, they really are different than millennials. They're different in how they learn, and they're different in how they view the world. Again, millennials were born into a world without that prevalence of social media and computer technology. I myself am an older millennial, and I tease my teenage stepdaughters about always having their phones because I can still distinctly recall not having one when I was in high school. Millennials like myself witnessed the evolution of technology, while Generation Z students like my stepdaughters, like your students, were born and raised immersed in this technology. And this is a bit of a double-edged sword. On the one hand, Gen Zs seem to be experts in technology to the point where they need minimal management. But on the other hand, their generation is characterized by a lack of concentration, which is deeply affected by smartphones and social media trends. So just to interrupt here, guys, I'm going to share a lot of statistics with everyone today. I've sourced all of those statistics on our slides. And as Emily said, so just a reminder, we will share the PowerPoint slides with all of the attendees today. So don't worry if you're trying to take notes and you're not quite catching a stat that I share. You will get a copy of all these resources when we're done. So here's a great chart actually that I'm excited to share later. This shows a descriptive comparison by generation in learning preferences. So what I want to highlight here is the characteristics of the Generation Z here in this far right column. They want to get the information now, they want to do it now, and they want to learn it now. So research shows that today's Generation Z students, they want to learn on their own terms. They prefer visual, interactive, hands-on learning. They just assume that you're going to use technology, social media, and tools like this. And by knowing how this generation prefers to learn, we can adjust the way we teach. So that said, how do you teach Generation Z? Well, you can start by getting rid of the 50-minute PowerPoints, which is something I love to share in the middle of a 45-minute or so PowerPoint presentation. After all, we can't get rid of PowerPoint presentations completely. They do serve a purpose. But what we're recommending are giving your students more than just PowerPoints and textbooks, adding group work, activities. If you have to use PowerPoint slides, use a quick poll, incorporate hands-on demonstrations maybe, or other activities every few slides. And as well, seek out project-based learning opportunities like internships and provide interactive hands-on learning opportunities. So now that we've talked a little bit about who today's students are and how they prefer to learn, let's talk about geriatric sensitivity in particular. So research and conversations with healthcare instructors and professionals have shown us that there are a few key trends happening right now all at once. First, the number of older adults across the globe is increasing. People worldwide are simply living longer. Today, most people can expect to live into their 60s and beyond. And really every country in the world is experiencing growth in both the size and the proportion of older persons in their population. In fact, by 2030, 1 in 6 people in the world will be aged 60 and over. And by 2050, the world's population of people ages 60 and over will have doubled. So secondly, another trend we're seeing right now is that demand for healthcare workers is growing. In fact, the US Bureau of Labor Statistics reports that overall employment in healthcare occupations is projected to grow 13% from 2021 to 2031. That's considered much faster than the average for all other occupations. This increase is expected to result in about 2 million new jobs over the next decade. And in addition to jobs from growth alone, opportunities are arising from the need to just replace workers who are leaving their occupations permanently, whether that's through retirement or something else. And in fact, that type of growth, the Bureau reports, will lead to about 1.9 million openings each year on average. That is a ton of opportunity for healthcare jobs. And finally, another trend that's meaningful to this discussion is the fact that employers are continuing to report the need for employees with soft skills like empathy. So of course, these reports we've seen both pre and post-pandemic. And in fact, nearly 3 in 4 employers say they have a hard time finding graduates with the soft skills their companies need. And educators agree. So these stats come from a 2020 Society for Human Resource Management study. And that study found that almost half of academic institutions believe that recent graduates lack life skills needed in the workplace. And of course, in healthcare settings, these skills are even more important. Undeveloped soft skills can lead to medical errors. They can lead to unhealthy work environments, job dissatisfaction, and unfavorable patient survey results, which can adversely affect hospital reimbursement. So really the big takeaway here is skills like empathy and the discussion of soft skills in general are really particularly essential for those working in healthcare and for those working with older adults. Older patients have unique challenges, right? And those challenges, those unique needs require special nursing skills like communication, patience, critical thinking, mental flexibility, and empathy. So this is a chart from Rasmussen College. And if you look at it, it lists the top soft skills, or the top skills rather, that you need for working in a nursing home. So this is just a nursing home, but most of those skills involve direct patient care. Big takeaway, geriatric sensitivity really has become a key skill for anyone entering a healthcare field. So this is a picture and a quote from Miranda Kessler. She is an educator that I've worked with in the past through Realityworks, and she uses our geriatric simulator in her health science program at Nicholas County Career and Technical Education Center in West Virginia. And this statement from her really mirrors that of what many other healthcare instructors we've spoken to state. They found that compassion and understanding are key to providing care for geriatric patients. They know that if their students can walk in the shoes of an older adult, that they're much more likely to provide appropriate care because those students will at least have a better understanding of the challenges that daily tasks can present to folks in that population rather. So here's a quick takeaway I like sharing. This acronym came from one instructor we worked with, and we thought it was just a handy tool to help your students not only remember why empathy is impactful, but how to demonstrate it to their patients. So with that, let's dive into some strategies that you can use for teaching geriatric sensitivity to today's students. So our first recommendation comes from a nurse educator here in Wisconsin who's been teaching geriatrics and CNA content for 25 years. And for years, this instructor has said that she used in-class cues like body language and eye contact, plus her own experience, of course, to decipher her students' learning styles as she taught them. And then, as we were chatting, she related to me that it just occurred to her one day to ask before she began teaching them. Now she welcomes each new class of students with a questionnaire, just a quick one, about their learning styles. And their answers help her learn about them before they even start clinicals and things like that. And then that allows her to align their needs to what she has to share with them. For instance, this semester I was interviewing her for a story. She had learned that most of her students were kinesthetic learners. So she incorporated simple hands-on activities whenever possible. In fact, that image on your slide is of her students practicing massage on each other shortly after her lesson on the topic. She knew that learning style would resonate with those students. So if this is a tactic you'd like to put into practice right away, these 3 resources are awesome options to try. In fact, my favorite, I think, is the one on chegg.com. I think it does a really great job of presenting the learning styles in a way that is easily understandable. These are all available on the internet for free quiz options. And of course, there are a plethora more. So definitely encourage you to check those out, but possibly consider trying these 3 right away. The second strategy that we'd like to share with you today is to use introductory or icebreaker activities to introduce the concept of empathy in a simple way. So instructors who use our geriatric simulator, for instance, get an empathy self-assessment activity with the curriculum. And in fact, it's on the screen in front of you now. It's a great way to kick off the lesson as it gets your students really thinking about their own empathy levels. And now we're actually going to share this empathy self-assessment with you all today for free. You don't need access to our full curriculum. Head on over to our website. We have a social emotional learning guide that's actually packed with other ideas and lessons for teaching skills within that content area, but it does include a link to that empathy self-assessment, which you can download and use. And again, remember, we'll share all of these with everyone in our post-webinar emails, so including the link to this empathy self-assessment. So the third strategy I'd like to share today is to add relevancy with real-world examples. After all, the more relevant that you can make your lessons, the more your students will engage with the content and make connections. And that's why Louisiana CTE teacher Jennifer Ebert has told us that she often provides students with real-world examples by just asking them how they're using soft skills every day. So you can do this as well. You can begin your lesson by asking students to share a soft skill that they used at their job or at their athletic activity recently, along with a time they felt that skill made a difference. Of course, in healthcare classes and such, these examples are particularly helpful if they come from students who have part-time jobs as CNAs or, in other healthcare institutions. But really, even hearing how empathy helped students relate to a customer at their job serving fast food will still get them thinking about how these skills apply to the real world. It'll allow them to make that real world connection that today's Gen Z students crave. Our fourth strategy we'd like to share is to bring in subject matter experts. Try to find a local nursing home director, a certified nursing assistant, a dietitian, an activities director, the list goes on. Anyone really who works daily with older adults. We recommend that you encourage your students to come up with a list of questions they'd like to ask and make time in class for a post-panel discussion. One key item I wanted to share today is that industry representatives really do want to help. Part of my job is interviewing professionals who help out in classrooms. And really, I have yet to contact a professional who, even in a small way, finds it annoying or hard to incorporate classroom help into their busy schedules. They understand that you're teaching their future employees. As well, I myself help out once or twice a year at our local tech college in their marketing program. And I personally find speaking with students who are about to graduate invigorating, and it's just plain fun. Plus, tools like Zoom these days make tasks like this even easier, and everyone by now is used to using them. But most importantly, bringing in subject matter experts will demonstrate the relevancy of your content to your students. It'll help them make those real-world connections. Tip number 5, of course, is to incorporate hands-on learning aids. Here at Realityworks, we want to make sure that educators have the tools they need to create engaging learning environments that will foster healthcare career exploration and that will help students develop in-demand job skills. And of course, one way to do that is through the use of cool tools, learning aids that engage your students, provide hands-on learning experiences, and give them real-life practice scenarios. And research backs up the efficacy of these tools and activities, particularly wearables and simulators. So the facts on your screen right now come from a study at the University of Würzburg on the effectiveness of age simulation in particular. And that study found that after engaging in an age simulation suit experience, 83% of participants were able to empathize with life in old age, quote, very well, while 95% of participants had a better understanding of the physical conditions of aging. Of course, and these days, of course, simulations like these can be an essential component of your program, especially if face-to-face interaction with real patients isn't possible. So I know someone said that in our Poll Everywhere chat, whether it's due to pandemic, health concerns, or just timing in general, sometimes face-to-face practice isn't possible. Age simulation activities can not replace that entirely, but go a long way toward helping your students practice those skills. So I do want to take just a few moments to talk about the geriatric simulator and some of our age simulation and empathy teaching tools that we offer here at Realityworks. This tool on your screen right now is really the tool that started it all. The geriatric simulator was the very first product we created about 6-7 years ago that addressed geriatric sensitivity. And I alluded in the beginning that this product came from conversations with educators, and that's exactly what happened. Teachers were asking us for hands-on learning experiences that would help their students develop empathy and sensitivity toward the elderly, and we created this simulator. It's a wearable suit that enables students to experience physical challenges like restricted range of motion, stooped posture, and joint stiffness, as well as visual impairments like glaucoma and cataracts. Like all of our tools, we wrap this tool with curriculum. It includes 9 lessons on topics ranging from geriatrics and gerontology, career exploration, and more. This is really an awesome learning aid for anyone who is preparing students to work with older adults. If you want to learn more, the blog on the screen in front of you is a great way to learn a little more, watch a demonstration. You can even see a video of local CNA students, the instructor of whom I quoted earlier with the massage slide, using the tool in person. So highly recommend that anyone who is interested check out that link. And of course, I do want to share just a tad more about some of our other geriatric training tools. The success of our simulator actually inspired us to create an entire line of training tools that allow students to walk in the shoes of older adults or older patients with specific challenges. All of these tools you see on your screen combine hands-on learning experiences with comprehensive curriculum, lesson plans, presentation signs, and assessments. You see students on your screen wearing our hemiplegia simulator, utilizing our medication management simulation kit. We have an awesome gross looking geriatric foot care model that is very realistic, and more. So again, if anyone is interested in learning more about those tools, you can visit our website. The URL in front of you is a great place to start. The final tip I wanted to share with everyone today is to consider creating some sort of geriatric sensitivity workshop. This idea actually comes from a Mineral Area Technical College nursing program. Sadanya Suttles is the lab coordinator and assistant professor of the program. She's on the screen in front of you. She actually did this. They were using kind of DIY created simulators or handmade models to give their students consistent amounts of time understanding what their older patients could be experiencing. And then they ended up seeking us out. Now they're using our geriatric simulator, our hemiplegia simulator, and other tools that you just saw to dedicate actually one full clinical day to progressing students through a series of geriatric sensory stations. So if you want to learn more, there's a link on this slide as well. You can read Sadanya's story, learn how they did it and how her students are reacting to this workshop that they have now incorporated into their curriculum. Okay, well, that was a lot of statistics and a lot of information that we just hit you with. So if you're wondering where to start, what to do, that was a question in that poll everywhere chat I saw. We recommend visiting our website. If you click onto the URL in front of you now, you can actually download a free guide on teaching empathy toward, on helping students develop empathy toward older adults. You'll also find a free infographic on geriatric sensitivity, which you can hang in your classroom or wherever to kind of jumpstart discussions on the topic. You can access that free empathy self-assessment that I referenced and more. And of course, you can contact us. Your local Realityworks account manager would love to have a conversation with you about either refreshing a program focused on these skills or creating one focusing a little more. We'd love to help, but at the very least, that free guide on the screen in front of you is an awesome resource, regardless of whether you have our tools. Additionally, this timing is kind of amazing. Tomorrow, actually, at 11 a.m. Central, so Friday the 10th at 11 a.m., our health science product manager is hosting a free demonstration of the one particular tool we've brought up a couple of times now, our geriatric simulator. Molly is awesome. She is an ICU nurse by background, and she then got her master's degree in nursing education and her PhD in the use of simulation in nursing programs before we were lucky enough to have her join our staff as our health science education programs manager. She's incredibly smart and she's done this professionally, and she is going to be demonstrating this tool for everyone. So if any of you are interested in learning more about this tool in particular, that's a great opportunity. You can register for that product demo the same way you registered for this one. Visit our website. The URL is on your screen in front of you, and click to join, enter your details into the Zoom registration landing page, and just like this one, you'll receive a calendar reminder and a link to access the demonstration, et cetera, et cetera. Highly recommend that learning opportunity. Okay, with that, we will go ahead and open things up to questions.
Thank you, Emily. Awesome job. So one quick question about the product demonstration for tomorrow. Will it be recorded if they cannot attend live?
It will. That's a good question. Absolutely. We understand that, there's really no ideal time for these kinds of webinars and presentations. I know a lot of people are teaching during the day or they have other responsibilities. So absolutely, if you want to, at the very least, register for that demonstration, so your name is on the list. Even if you cannot attend, we will follow up with an email similar to the one you'll receive today. You'll get a link to the recording as well as any other information Molly shares. Absolutely. But definitely go on and register anyway, just so we have your information and for sure you're on the list to receive those follow-up materials.
Thank you. And then we were getting questions about the links. Just a reminder, following the webinar today, you will be receiving an email that contains a link to the recording, a link to the PowerPoint slide that has all of Emily's links that she went over today, as well as a certificate of completion. And you should see that in your email within 24 hours after the webinar. So definitely check your spam mail if you don't see it. And yes, if anybody does have any other further questions, you can type that in the chat or Q&A. And check that. Oh, Emily, one question did come in regarding the geriatric simulator, and they might go over this tomorrow. But what are the different ways to use that simulator?
Ooh, that is a good question. There are a whole bunch of different ways that you can incorporate the simulator into your classroom, whether it's individual group work or stations or large group practice. I'm going to recommend, and can you see my screen now if I bring over my my internet right here?
Yes, we can see that.
Okay, awesome. So this is our Realityworks homepage. I'd actually recommend that if you're looking for ideas, visit our geriatric simulator product page on our website. On that page, if you scroll down just a titch, you'll see a resources tab right here. And this is kind of our recommended implementation ideas and different resources for anyone interested in this particular product. One of the links is a blog that we wrote based on a webinar presentation, actually, ways to use geriatric simulators in your classroom. Give that a click. This is a great rundown of just simple activities you can use to get started with the simulator in your program, whether it's different ways to incorporate small group practice, group experience, real patient practice, et cetera. It kind of depends on what you're addressing, but definitely some great ideas here. And in our blog in general, that's just a great source of ideas. These are all this is all information and resources that have come from educators using our tools or subject matter experts. But that blog in particular is really particularly helpful. So good question.
Awesome. And I'm not seeing any further questions coming in at this time.
Okay. Well, thank you everyone for joining. Again, I sincerely apologize for all of the technical difficulties in the beginning. That's never happened before, but thank you for your patience and thank you for sticking with us. As Emily has said, keep an eye on your inbox. We will send a follow-up with the recording and all of the links and resources we shared. And thanks again for joining us.